In 2011, the United Nations endorsed the United Nations Guiding Principles for Business and Human Rights. Since then, the expectations of regulators, public buyers, investors, and consumers regarding businesses' responsibility to respect human rights have grown considerably. Various governments are passing laws to regulate responsible business conduct due diligence. Public buyers are starting to include social and environmental considerations into their purchasing practice, and investors have stepped up their leverage to ensure that the companies they invest in are actually meaningfully addressing human rights issues. Meeting these expectations is essential for companies to manage compliance, reputational risks, and to improve stakeholder relation. But of course, it is also an opportunity for companies to contribute to the advancement of sustainable development. In February, the European Commission released the long-awaited study on sustainable supply chain due diligence requirements. Most of our recommendations, amfori recommendations, are actually aligned with the Commission study findings. The adoption of smart legislation at EU level would create a much-needed level playing field to scale up scattered efforts at national level and drive systemic change. The EU's approach to due diligence legislation, however, should be pragmatic. Supply chains are, in fact, too complex to expect perfection from the start. This would simply be unrealistic, whereas due diligence should be really encouraged and promoted as a journey based on continuous improvement, collaboration, and empowerment. These are the values that are really at the heart of what we do at amfori. And EU-wide due diligence legislation should not cause companies to take a cut-and-run approach, pulling out from certain regions or disengaging with suppliers when non-compliances arise. Companies should be, on the contrary, incentivized to continue to engage and to be open about the challenges that they might encounter. A step-by-step approach to due diligence that facilitates businesses to engage with their suppliers and business partners, that helps them actually to build their capacity and technical skills, can bring long-term improvements and make supply chain more resilient over time. Due diligence obligations should also be proportionate to the size and the leverage in the supply chain and commensurate with the nature of the adverse impact. Other things to consider and to take into account from our perspective are the following. A transitional phase should be foreseen so that companies are given time actually to adjust the internal processes. A proper monitoring and enforcement mechanism should be put in place. And a smart mix of measures should be contemplated, not only legislative measures but also voluntary initiatives. Responsible business conduct should become one of the criteria of the EU institutions and member states' procurement policies. Lastly, the EU should continue to pursue trade preferences and investment policies which advance the protection of human rights in third countries.